As I talked about at the top of the show, NFL running backs are not happy. And it's not just a couple, it's not just a few, it's a whole lot of them. And it's some of the best in the league, for sure, no question. It's not like, oh, some of the guys are unhappy, but they're not like the highest ranking running backs. They're not the most, famous or productive running backs. No, no, no. These are top of the line, top 10 running backs, and they are not happy. And let's talk about why. Let's go ahead and just bring this on the screen to be the easiest way to discuss this. Adam Schefter tweet here. Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs still have not signed their $10 million franchise tag tender yet, so they can skip all of training camp without getting fined. Since they're not under contract, they would lose game checks only if they miss regular season games. So this here is basically breaking down the fact that Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs did not sign their franchise tender. So they are now basically without a team, right? They're not playing football games. They are not part of the team. Tony Pollard was also on that list of guys who were looking for a new contract up to the deadline moment, but he actually signed his franchise tender previously, so he'll actually play for the Cowboys this year. Right now, we're in this area where we don't know, will Saquon Barkley sign it? Will Josh Jacobs sign it? It's been a situation where when NFL running backs have done this in the past, it hasn't played out too well for them. If you remember some cases like Le'Veon Bell, for instance, he did the same thing. He had this issue where he didn't feel like the Steelers were paying him the money he deserved, and he did what he did, and it didn't play out so well. It didn't end great. And there's a lot of reasons for that. One, the running back, career is just not a very long arc in terms of, their high end production. So you get these guys who produce really, really great in the beginning of their career. And of course, it just tails off. But with other positions, it doesn't tail off so fast. With running back, it tends to tail off a lot faster. So you have the wear and tear of the body, and the ability to skill just naturally declines quicker than other positions. You also have a situation where NFL teams are looking at running backs and they're saying, hey, we don't need, a top 10 running back to win a Super Bowl. That's the ultimate goal. Do top 10 running backs help our team? Of course. Is it nice to have a top 10 running back? Of course. But in terms of winning the Super Bowl, history just hasn't dictated that for the last, decade or whatever it may be. And we'll look at that in a second just to kind of, put it all into perspective to understand what we're talking about when we say, because a lot of people are thinking, what are you talking about? Like, obviously Josh Jacobs helps the Raiders. Obviously Saquon Barkley helps the Giants. We'll get to a graphic in a moment that'll kind of show you what I'm talking about in terms of why teams are not budging on their position in terms of giving these guys more money. And let me just say up front, for me, I of course want these guys to get all the money they can get. I of course believe they deserve more money. I of course think they're significant and they do help teams. Like, as a Raider fan, I would no doubt say that Josh Jacobs was a huge part, put the offense on his back, carry them all the way this past season. But again, they didn't win a Super Bowl, right? They didn't make the playoffs. Like, it didn't happen. And you had one of the top running backs in football. So this is kind of the argument, right? Like, it just doesn't matter to a certain extent. And you'll see teams who will, move on from a running back, a top 10 running back, for instance, in this situation. And then they'll add, they'll have a bunch of different running backs kind of do the job, or they'll find a rookie or a younger guy to do the job. And they may not produce like the one player, like the Josh Jacobs on their own, but as a group, they get the job done still. So it doesn't look as nice. It doesn't look as flashy. It's not like a highlight reel running back necessarily all the time, but they still get the job done. They fit the system. They get the yards needed. They get the touchdowns, and they'll get you there. It doesn't matter. So let's go ahead and just jump over. I thought this was hilarious. So I do want to share this tweet. Um, Matt Miller, NFL Draft Scout on Twitter, he posted this tweet after the news, the deadline passed for guys like Josh Jacobs and Barkley to sign their deals. He said, been saying it for years. 1, draft a running back. 2, play the running back. If he's good, 3, franchise tag that running back one time, and then all over again, 1, draft a running back. This tweet, the reason why I'm sharing this tweet is because this is a sentiment that a lot of people have. This is the idea that a lot of teams have, right? Like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to draft a good running back, or just draft a running back. And you could draft, when I say good running back, I don't mean like first round. I mean, like, you could draft them literally in the 7th round. They can go undrafted, whatever the case is. You're going to play that running back. He's going to produce. If he's really good, awesome. We're going to go ahead and franchise tag you one time just so we keep you, so we can get the next, running back in the fold at some point, whether we're drafting somebody, whether we're picking up a young player to, kind of replace you next season. And then we're just going to draft one again next year. So this is kind of the pattern that teams follow, and it works, right? This is the pattern that, teams have done for years now and has been nothing but success for them. So when you have a situation like this is why teams are not paying the Josh and to be fair, Josh Jacobs did say that he wasn't trying to reset the market, that the money he was asking for wasn't something like that. It was more of the guarantee, in the years. So that's what these guys are worried about is how much are you guaranteeing me and for how many years? They care about that more, in a sense, because they're protecting themselves than the amount of money, because you can have a contract that's 20, 30, 40, 50 million, but if you don't guarantee it, the team could just cut you at any point, obviously, and you're not going to get all that money. So that's what their highest concern is. But the reason I was sharing that tweet was because I wanted to show you this. After that tweet came out, players started doing stuff like this. Najee Harris, I agree with my running back brothers around the NFL. History will show that you need running backs to win. We set the tone every game and run through walls for our team and lead in many ways. This notion that we deserve less is a joke. Again, no one's saying running backs don't matter. No one's saying that running backs are irrelevant and that they don't help teams win games. They're just saying that when it gets to the Super Bowl, the past teams have proven that they don't need to pay a top 10 running back high dollars to win that game. It doesn't matter, right? But it wasn't just Najee Harris. It was also Christian McCaffrey. This is criminal. Three of the best players in the entire league, regardless of position. Again, you're correct. Just doesn't matter to win Super Bowls. Austin Eckler, a guy who's been having this contract situation himself. This is kind of a trash that has artificially devalued one of the most important positions in the game. Everyone knows it's tough to win without a top running back, and yet they act like we are discardable widgets. I support any running back doing whatever it takes to get his bag. We all do. We all support any player that's doing what they got to do to get their bag. Even Josh Jacobs and Saquon Barkley. No one's upset at them. No one's mad at them. No one thinks that they don't deserve money or deserve to be paid well. It's just the fact is the market is the market. On to this last tweet here is Jonathan Taylor. One, if you're good enough, they'll find you. Two, if you work hard enough, you'll succeed. If you succeed, three, you boost the organization, and then doesn't matter, you're a running back. Obviously, he's expressing some sarcasm here, but again, this is the way they're looking at how the NFL is looking at them right now. And so again, it's important to mention that no one is saying running backs don't matter at all. Obviously, it's a position that matters. It's important. What they're saying is that the money that they're asking for and the guarantees that they're asking for don't necessarily have to be met by the teams, because the market is the market, and the market says that they don't need you. They don't need top 10 running back guy to win a Super Bowl. That's just what history shows. That's just what history shows. Until that changes, if that changes, it'll force the market to change. But unfortunately, it has to force it, because the NFL teams are not going to, out of the kindness of their heart, just pay a position more money and in theory hurt their team, right? In theory, you're hurting your team by paying all that money or using the early draft picks, because you're doing that on a position that doesn't necessarily carry your team to a Super Bowl. Again, this is just the stats, the data, the history. I'm not knocking running backs. I love running backs. I would love the Raiders to re-sign Josh Jacobs. Obviously, I hope he signs his franchise tag and plays this season and they figure something out. But if not, again, history says it doesn't matter. It is what it is, and the Raiders will figure out what to do next in terms of running back. But let me get to that graphic I was mentioning a second ago with you guys. Here it is. This is from Marcus Mosher at Marcus_Mosher on Twitter. Take a look at the leading rusher from the last 13 Super Bowls and their base salary. Obviously, this doesn't have 2022 on here, which the Chiefs would also fit into the same graphic and makes total sense within it. But we got all these teams here from 2021 on down. Rams, the running back Cam Akers, his salary. Buccaneers, Leonard Fournette, the running back, his salary. And if you see, we just go down and down here. Chiefs, Damian Williams, Patriots, Sonny Michel, Eagles, Blunt with Patriots, Blunt also. Broncos, CJ Anderson. Seahawks, the leading rusher was Percy Harvin. Obviously, he's a wide receiver. What's funny is the roster that he has on here is the highest the highest salary for all these players. Ravens, Ray Rice, $2 million. Giants, Bradshaw, 1.5. James Starks, 320,000, the lowest on this list. Saints, Pierre Thomas. So this is just an idea, right? Again, these are the Super Bowl winners, lead-in rusher plus their salary. And this is since 2009. Again, in 2022, it's not on this graphic, but the same thing happened all over again, right? And if you think about it, even with the Chiefs, they even drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire to be their running back. They drafted him, somewhat early, relatively early, and then he doesn't even play in the Super Bowl. It's Isaiah Pacheco who helps them win it. So this is what we're trying to say in this modern era. And of course, your counter to this could be, well, every team doesn't have Patrick Mahomes. Every team doesn't have Jalen Hurts. Every team doesn't have Tom Brady when he was with the Bucks and won the Super Bowl. Every team doesn't have those quarterbacks. No, you're right. But once you get yourself one of those quarterbacks, and once you get yourself a good offensive line and a good defense, you just don't need the running back. And again, I'm not saying they're worthless. I'm not saying that, they have zero value. I'm saying that the price that they're asking for just doesn't add up to what the history shows. The market is the market. The running backs have to reset that market. They have to push that market and prove why they deserve it. Now, will these guys, be able to take this any further or form some sort of, special union or strike, a running back strike? I have no clue. I think it'll be cool if they do. I don't mind it. I got no problem with anybody, pushing for more money or trying to prove why they deserve more money. I'm never going to knock another man's hustle, never going to knock another man feeds his family. At the same time, I don't think that, Josh Jacobs playing for $10 million a year is a bad thing. I do wish they could have some kind of guarantee. Also, I would love for them to be able to earn more money out the gate. So, like, for instance, a guy like Josh Jacobs, and some people may not like this, right? But say a guy like Josh Jacobs, a running back, well, this is the problem position, right? This is the one position that's really having this issue. So we really only have to adjust it for running backs. When they come out, maybe give them some kind of way to earn incentives or bonuses like you do on on a new contract just for running backs. So if you do earn, top 15 production, top 10 production, top 5 production, there's some sort of incentive for a player to make more money. So this way, early in their career, those first 3, 4, 5 years, they don't feel like they got robbed in some sense. They don't feel like, they weren't making enough money. But again, that is also just the way sports work, right? Like when you get drafted, you make, a lot of money if you're drafted early. You don't make as much money if you're drafted in later rounds. And then, it kind of is the value to the team, right? To get you at a lesser cost. And this way they can build other positions up while they do that. It's kind of like the whole, quarterback situation when you draft a rookie quarterback. Obviously, they get more money out the gate, but while they're on that rookie salary, a lot of teams have to capitalize on players being on rookie salaries. And so this is kind of one of those situations. So it's kind of a benefit, but I think the NFL could budge a little bit, right? They could find a happy place in the middle because no one wants to see Josh Jacobs not play. No one wants to see the running backs unhappy and, not happy with what they're doing or what they're, being paid to do it with for. So definitely if there was some kind of middle ground, I would think it's definitely a better situation. And I would like to see it play out that way personally. Obviously the current setup isn't the answer. And that's where we're at with this. Hopefully again, Josh Jacobs plays, Saquon Barkley plays, they sign their franchise tags, and then next season, we have a better understanding, a better grip, a better expectation for this. Maybe the running backs do make something happen where, they're able to resolve this situation a little better. Communication is going to be key. And of course, making the market correct itself. And the only way you can do that is to force their hands by showing why you have this value. Who knows? Next year or this upcoming season, a top flight running back wins the Super Bowl and then things, opens up the floodgates. We'll see. Maybe that happens. Maybe that's a feel good ending to this. We will see. That's it for the running backs. I want to know your thoughts. Should the NFL just pay them more money because they feel like they deserve it? Or should the running backs understand, hey, this is the market. It is what it is. There's nothing we can do about it. We're making decent money. Just go out there, have fun, keep making that money, and keep working in the background to try to figure out a better way to fix this. Or do you think, hey, they just need an all-out strike, none of them play, it's the only way to make this better, force the NFL's hands, force the team hands? I want to know your thoughts. This is it's an in-depth issue. It gets deep, and there can be multiple ways to approach it. So I'm curious your thoughts. Drop them in the comments. We may share them on the next episode or on social or whatever the case may be, but we'll definitely reply and continue that discussion there in the comments. So let's